on. We made it. We made it.
We did. And tonight we are doing a bit of poetry by a poet called John Clare.
Yes.
I think he's pretty underrated. He is a labouring class poet who's very much self-taught, but definitely considered one of the romantics.
And it looks like he had quite a life, but if if talking about his poetry, he really has a love of rhyme.
He did.
He rhymes really well.
He's another brilliant nature poet.
Yes.
And later on his poetry, which we may do another one, I think he's more introspective and he looks at his own mental problems and mental health.
And I think that would be very interesting to do
Yeah.
because of one, he's writing it from in the asylum, and two, he's older and he is looking at that mental health. So it I think it's lovely. I mean, you probably see it looking at your own poetry. I see it looking at my poetry because I've got poetry that I still have going back 30 years, and I don't.
Yeah.
You probably have it going.
Yeah.
Seeing the change in your voice
Exactly.
is sometimes like, oh, and sometimes like, oh wow, I did good there, but it does drastically change.
It does change because life experience changes, and it adds. I think it adds different dimensions.
I think so too.
To your poetry.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that'll be cool to see.
Yeah, and I think again,
I'd like that.
With John Clare, I think we probably have a fuller discussion on the poet another
that
time.
would be fun.
Yeah,
that would be nice
because then we can compare, because we have romantics who come from a very highly educated background.
Yeah.
Hi, Tommy.
Hey, Tommy, how are you?
Yeah. So Eton and and the whole, Cambridge and Oxford, and we have this guy, son of a farm labourer, very much self-taught.
Yeah, and writing phenomenal poetry and beautiful observance of nature, observance of life.
Yeah, very much so.
Poetry, which is really nice. So, shall we start?
We shall begin.
I'm going to write the times down so that in the caption I can put the individual poems where they are. So let me see here. So this is Approaching Night by John Clare. And what we're going to do on some of these longer ones is Mike and I are going to go back and forth reading every other stanza together. And then on the short ones, we're just going to read them by ourselves so that y'all know what's going on when we start switching up. So this is Approaching Night. Oh, take this world away from me. Its strife I cannot bear to see. Its very praises hurt me more than e'en its coldness did before. Its hollow ways torment me now and start a cold sweat on my brow. Its noise I cannot bear to hear. Its joy is trouble to my ear. Its always I cannot bear to see. Its crowds are solitudes to me.
Oh, how I long to be again that poor and independent man, with labour's lot from morn to night, and books to read at candlelight, that followed labour in the field, from light to dark, when toil could yield real happiness with little gain, rich thoughtless health unknown to pain, though leaning on my spade to rest, I've thought how richer folks were blessed, and you not quite was the best.
Go with your tauntings, go, ne'er think to hurt me so. I'll scoff at your disdain, cold through the winter blow. When hills are free from snow, it will be spring again.
So go and fare thee well, nor think ye'll have to tell of wounded hearts from me, locked up in your heart's cell. Mine still at home doth dwell in its first liberty.
Bees sift not at one flower, spring comes not with one shower, nor shines the sun alone upon one favored hour, but with unstinted power makes every day his own.
And for my freedom's sake, with such I'll pattern take, and rove and revel on, your gall shall never make me honed paths forsake. So prithee get thee gone.
And when my toil is blessed, and I find a maid possessed of truth that's not in thee, like bird that finds its nest, I'll stop and take my rest and love as she loves me.
That's
That was
so,
from,
yeah, so observant, so beautiful.
yeah, very lovely and very, very emotional, but
Yes,
also he plays with this rhyme. He doesn't stick to that same pattern. He throws it around a bit.
yeah.
Um,
But he has that respect of being a farm labourer, and
yeah,
resting on his spade. How rich folk,
yeah.
is their life better? But
It's very observant and very just like,
very,
oh,
yeah,
mm, go on.
yes,
I'll have this. I like it. I
yeah,
liked it.
yeah. I like it because I like it also way he says that a bee does not settle on one flower. So that's conjures up all
That's
sorts.
it
And
does,
then,
which goes into if we were to talk
yeah,
about him. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. And then finish, when he does find a maid, um, of truth and not in thee, like bird that finds its nest, I'll stop and take my rest and love as she loves me. I think it just finishes so beautifully.
Sweet. Yeah, it's very
Yeah,
sweet. Um,
yeah.
which that's I don't know how old he was when he wrote that, but there is a very just I don't want to say sweet again, but there's a sweetness to what he wrote,
There
just
is.
like a almost innocence, kind of youthfulness to
I agree.
it,
Yeah, I
sort of.
totally agree. And that's not a bad thing, is it? At
No,
all.
not at all,
No,
not at all.
no, no. So if we move on to distant hills, again, we'll be using this format of stanza and stanza about. What is there in those distant hills my fancy longs to see, that many a mood of joy instills? Say what can fancy be?
Do old oaks thicken all the woods with weeds and brakes as here? Does common water make the floods that's common everywhere?
Is grass the green that clothes the ground? Are springs the common springs? Daisies and cowslips dropping round are such the flowers she brings.
Are cottages of mud and stone by valley, wood, and glen, and their calm dwellers little known, men, and but common men.
That drive a field with carts and ploughs, such men are common here, and pastoral maidens milking cows are dwelling everywhere.
If so, my fancy idly clings to notions far away, and longs to roam for common things all round her every day.
Right idle would the journey be to leave one's home so far, and see the moon no eye can see, and every little star.
And have they there a night and day in common counted hours? And do they see far away this moon of ours?
I mark him climb above the trees with one small comrade star, and thank me in my reveries he cannot shine so far.
The poets in the tales they tell, and with their happy powers, have made lands where their fancies dwell, seem better land than ours.
Why need I sigh far hills to see, if grass is their array? while here the little paths go through the greenest every day.
Such fancies fill the restless mind at once to cheat and cheer, with thought and semblance undefined, nowhere and everywhere. I like that, kind of calling out,
It is a kind of calling out. And again,
but
it's
also
very earthy, isn't it?
it is. I mean, I like that he's looking around and he's clearly read something somewhere that is said or heard someone somewhere said, "Oh, these are just common folk and they don't
Yeah.
think and they don't have that." And he's playing on that. I mean, we don't probably read it as a playfulness due to how we speak today, but if you read it as you're going through, no, he is being quite witty and bantery
Very clever.
in what he's saying, very clever in what he's
Yeah.
saying, and I love that because it's we read it as, oh, this is some beautiful beautiful point. No, he's being a cheeky thing.
He's been
um
pointed, yeah.
he is there, and so I like that.
And
And
it's filled with questions.
it is,
Question
he's
all the
kind of
time. It's
throwing it back.
questioning. Yeah.
And then
It's lovely.
I like where he also says, I'd like to go wander and see those things, but if they long for the green grass, if this is what they want, well, look what's here. There's
Yeah.
more green grass here than they could ever
That's right. Yeah.
imagine,
Because he's
basically.
saying it's our adage, isn't it? The grass is always greener.
Greener, yeah.
But he's questioning that and saying, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then that ending, nowhere and everywhere,
Yes.
was
Yeah.
really, really smart. I like
Yeah.
that.
Lovely.
Very much so.
So our next poem is I Am.
Hmm.
I am, yet what I am none cares or knows. My friends forsake me like a memory lost. I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and vanish in oblivious host, like shades in love and death's oblivion lost. And yet I am, and live with shadows tossed into the nothingness of scorn and noise, into the living sea of waking dreams, where there is neither sense nor life nor joys, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems. And e'en the dearest that I love the best are strange, nay rather stranger than the rest. I long for scenes where man has never trod, a place where women never smiled or wept, there to abide with my Creator God and sleep as I in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie, the grass below, above the vaulted sky.
Sad. That line, but the vast shipwreck of my life's esteems.
King, I know.
That's intense.
It's a cutting line, isn't it? Yeah,
It is. And it really hammers home the melancholy. There's intense
it
melancholy
does. Yeah, that's
in
exactly that.
this. And especially going into the whole, a place where women never smiled or wept. That's what he's longing for, a place where
Yeah,
someone's never smiled or
or
wept.
wept. It's a,
That's,
it's a nothingness.
yeah. Um, and then to end with the grass below, above that vaulted sky. I
Sky.
mean, he's just wanting to lay there in numb
I know.
obliviousness, maybe,
It
or
seems, yeah, because he wants to sleep, as in childhood sweetly slept, untroubling and untroubled where I lie. So, yeah, he's really seeking something, isn't he? An inner peace.
Yeah, well, it's like those first two lines. I am, yet what am I? None cares or knows. My friends forsake me, like a memory lost. I mean,
Yeah.
he's basically saying, I'm here, but nobody can
No,
care.
nobody cares.
So it's really a,
Yeah, because he goes on to say, I am the self-consumer of my woes. They rise and
yeah.
vanish in oblivious host.
So nobody even
So,
notices that I'm
no,
sad or down. That's a hard thing to
it is.
feel.
It is.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. Um, and next we have First Love. First Love. I ne'er was struck before that hour with love so sudden and so sweet. Her face it bloomed like a sweet flower and stole my heart away complete. My face turned pale as deadly pale, my legs refused to walk away. And when she looked, what could I ail? My life and all seemed turned to clay. And then my blood rushed to my face and took my eyesight quite away. The trees and bushes round the place seemed midnight at noonday. I could not see a single thing. Words from my eyes did start. They spoke as chords do from the string, and blood burnt round my heart. Are flowers the winter's choice? Is love's bed always snow? She seemed to hear my silent voice, not love's appeal to know. I never saw so sweet a face as that I stood before. My heart was left its dwelling place and can return no more.
That describes first love so eloquently.
Yeah, what an
This,
interesting way.
yeah, um, that you feel so clumsy.
Yeah, there's an awkwardness even
Yeah,
in the beautiful telling. He uses his words awkwardly
yeah.
to amplify the awkwardness that he's expressing, which is really cool, I think. Um,
No, I think you
almost
have.
stuttering. Yeah.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really excellent. So, and because he even said, he was pale, couldn't walk away, probably couldn't speak, and then blushed.
Yeah, and I love the way, like, because he's amplifying that first love, that almost innocent childishness
Yeah,
in the words, because it's not, my face didn't just turn pale, my face turned pale as deadly pale, and he repeats words.
yes,
He's over expressing, kind of like that would be, which I think is an interest. It's a cool voice to use in the
it is.
poem.
Yeah, it is. I think
Um,
so. Yeah, yeah.
because
And he was sort of, yeah, it's lovely.
yeah,
So if we move on to all nature has a feeling. All nature has a feeling. Woods, fields, brooks are life eternal in silence. They speak happiness beyond the reach of books. There's nothing mortal in them. Their decay is the green life of change, to pass away and come again in blooms revivified. Its birth was heaven, eternal its stay, and with the sun and moon shall abide, beneath their day and night and heavens wide.
I like that because he's amplifying what he wrote in the title.
It's simple verse, very simple verse. But he says, you can't find it in books.
No,
The beauty of
he's
wood,
asking.
field, and brook, you can't find in books.
Well, he's asking the reader to look around them and see that the trees and the grass and the
Yeah,
flowers and everything is alive. It has feeling. It's
And I think that's as important, more important now than ever before.
yes,
When
very much so.
we're so detached. We are so detached from that life.
We are. And not being detached from it, be going out in it, getting your hands in the soil, seeing the cycle of life,
Absolutely.
whether it lasts for a day, like in some flies, or whether it lasts for hundreds or thousands or
Yes. Yeah.
years. The life cycle, learning those life cycles and witnessing them and seeing them, time moves differently between each creature, and seeing that and recognizing it. This cat might be 6 years old, but that's midlife.
Yeah.
It's not a baby, it's not a child,
No.
it is a 30-40 year old equivalent. And in each of the different,
Yeah.
uh, be it a plant or an animal or whatnot, if we could all just naturally broaden our minds to think like that, we would see the world in a very different way
We would
than it
do.
appears.
Yeah. Yeah. We would do. And I think
So it's cool.
it's probably something we need to go back to.
It would be
And
nice. It would be nice. Yes. Um, so next is summer. Give me 1 second. Okay. Summer. Come we to the summer we will come, for the woods are full of bluebells and the hedges full of bloom. And the crow is on the oak, a building of her nest, and love is burning diamonds in my true lover's breast. She sits beneath the whitthorns, a plaiting of her hair, and I will to my true lover with the fond request repair. I will look upon her face, I will in her beauty rest, and lay my aching weariness upon her lovely breasts. The clock of clay is creeping on the open bloom of May. The merry bee is trampling the pinky threads all day, and the chaffinch is its brooding on its gray mossy nest in the whitethorn bush where I will lean upon my lover's breast. I'll lean upon her breast and I'll whisper in her ear that I cannot get a wink of sleep for thinking of my dear. I hunger at my meat and I daily fade away like the hedgerows that is broken in the heat of the day. So when he says, I hunger at my meat, what is he referencing?
I think
His,
it's really just his food. He's off his food. He can't.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's what he means there. I think
Are you
he's saying it.
sure?
Uh, it's got other intentions,
There's a
but I
lot of
think
connotation there.
awful lot. But it goes right the way through the whole poem. But because he's really starting off summer in spring,
Yeah.
so he's probably treating it more like a two cycle, a summer winter cycle, summer winter, rather than that. Because bluebells and broom are both spring. It's both spring
Oh,
flowers.
are they?
Yeah,
Well, yeah. Everybody depends on where you live. It's different. So in England, bluebells bloom.
yeah, because they come out and yeah, but you don't see them like we used to. Because you used to see these blue carpets going through our woods and quite spectacular. Now you have to search for them like that.
I think I'm not sure if it's the same. I think y'all have different bluebells, maybe, but that's the state flower of Texas. So
Yeah,
when bluebells come up, the state in many areas, counties will seed all the land. It's illegal to cut down bluebells in Texas. So
it's
you
illegal
you
here.
get the blue. Is it?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So you
because
get the blue
people take
color.
them, and we have gardens have been filling up with European bluebells, which are very different. Um, so, and of course, they end up going wild as well. So you have problems.
I'm going to have to
which is a
look up
shame.
and see if we have the same bluebell. I don't know if we do,
No,
but that would
no,
be interesting
it would be, it'd be
if we
phenomenal.
do.
Yeah, but
Um,
so we have that, don't we? We have this feeling of summer coming through, but also that, because spring, you think about
yeah.
birds building nests, and yeah, so
Yeah,
it's there as well. It's very intense.
yeah, there's a very, he's very, not quite licentious, but tipping
It's
towards it.
there.
It's there.
It is
I
there.
imagine it was at that time.
I should imagine. Yes,
I
I
imagine it
should
was at
imagine.
that time.
Yeah,
And what is this? What is this chaffinch? Chaff,
chaffinch is a bird.
big bird, little bird?
Little bird, sing beautifully, but there are different. There are you've got chaffinches, you've got bullfinches.
So it's a finch. It's a
It's a
little
finch.
tiny. Okay,
It's quite a small bird, but yeah, and quite pretty
cool.
as well.
Yeah, I
So
like
again,
finches.
yeah, chaffinch.
But he really talks a lot about the lover's breast, leaning on the
He
lover's
does,
breast, talking
but
on the lover's breast, thinking.
and very much about nesting,
Yeah,
and yeah, so it's very much there. Very good.
yeah. But the last two lines, I really think he's saying something there. I hunger at my meat and I daily fade
Fade
away,
away.
like the hedgerows that is broken in the heat
So
of the day. I think,
when yeah, I think
yeah.
it yeah.
So that's what we've talked about before, the interesting ways to express the
Oh
erotic
yes,
behaviors and whatnot, or
definitely.
sex, and this would definitely be a much more poetic
Oh
manner where you have to pause and go, wait a minute.
yeah, what do you? Because it makes you stop and think,
It
and
does. I like that.
yeah, because he's saying if he's not with her, he fades and he wilts, and he's only yeah, he's
Oh,
a
that's not how I read
shadow
it.
of himself. Yeah,
Yeah. Tommy
longing,
says,
hunger
hunger
on
at
me.
my meat,
Yeah,
longing.
longing. Yeah,
Yeah.
and daily fade away like the hedgerows that's broken in the heat of the day. So yeah, it's diminished.
Yeah.
So our next poem is called What is Life? And what is life? An hourglass on the run, a mist retreating from the morning sun, a busy, bustling, still repeated dream, its length, a minute's pause, a moment's thought, and happiness, a bubble on a stream that in the act of seizing shrinks to naught.
And what is hope? The puffing gale of morn that of its charms divests the dewy lawn and robs each floweret of its gem and dies. A cobweb hiding disappointment's thorn. What stings more keenly through the thin disguise?
And what is death? It's still the cause unfound, that dark mysterious name of horrid sound. A long and lingering sleep the weary crave, and peace, where can its happiness abound? Nowhere at all, save heaven and the grave.
Then what is life? When stripped of its disguise, a thing to be desired it cannot be, since everything that meets our foolish eyes gives proof sufficient of its vanity. 'Tis but a trial all must undergo, to teach each unthankful mortals how to prize the happiness vain man's denied to know, until he's called to claim it in the skies.
That is certainly questioning life and mortality, and definitely that
Questioning
question.
how people value it,
Yeah,
questioning what people
yeah,
see
exactly
and
that.
think of all
Yeah,
these things.
yeah.
And and that he starts with and that he goes into hope, a puffing gale of morn. Hope is a puffing gale of morn.
it is, fascinating.
He's a dark.
It is a dark poem. It is a dark poem. It's a bit. It reminds you a bit Carp Diem, whereas we're talking about enjoy life now because the Grim Reaper is there and he will take you any time.
Yeah. Well, that and peace. Where can its happiness abound? Nowhere at all, save heaven and the grave. So it's like he's a very cynical, looking out, seeing the world, going.
And you could see this torment, this mental torment he's got, and
Foolish
then what is
vanity. Yeah. So I think that's it. Really expresses how much he thinks. I mean, it really expresses the viewpoint of a thoughtful, cynical, contemplative soul, I think.
That's right. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Then what is life when stripped of its disguise, a thing to be desired? It cannot be. What?
Yeah, it cannot be. So he's not happy with what he's seeing around him.
I think we move on.
Yeah, I
to
think so.
Emmonsail's Heath in winter. I love to see the old heath withered break, mingle its crimpered leaves and fuzz and ling, while the old heron from the lonely lake starts slow and flaps its melancholy wing, and odling crow in idle motion swing on the half-rotten ash tree's topmost twig, beside whose trunk the gypsy makes his bed. Up flies the bouncing woodcock from the brig, where a black quagmire quakes beneath the tread. The field fares chatter in the whistling thorn, and for the hoar round fields and cloven rove, and coy bumble barrels 20 in a drove, flit down the hedgerows in the frozen plain, and hang on little twigs and start again.
I don't know what several of these words are.
I love them. I think we'd have to look at some of these words.
Yeah. Is furs like saying the leaves are furry?
I think
or is
so.
that a
Yes,
different?
I think they are. Yeah, I think they're just disintegrating, breaking, and ling.
I like the use of the word odling. The odling crow. That's
yes, because the spell checker doesn't like it one little bit.
I bet it doesn't.
No, because they do when you see them. They're up in the sky. They just wheel so slowly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't read it that way. See? So I didn't, but that makes sense too. I didn't read it that way. I read it as this one crow that's odd, that's separated out from all the rest.
From the other crows.
But no, you're oddly, that makes more sense, I guess.
No,
but I wouldn't have read it.
But that's the beauty of poetry, isn't it?
Yeah.
The way you see things through different eyes. Yeah. And beside whose trunk the gypsy makes his bed, up flies the bouncing woodcock from the brig. So it's a time, because they tend to take flight, and they tend to, a bit like pheasants, they tend to want to go up. When
So
they
what
take
does he
flight,
mean by brig? To me, brig is like prison or short for a brigand.
Yeah, no, I think it is. Yeah, it's crushed down hedgerow type, like ferny type.
Oh, it's an actual name for a plant?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to look
From
that
where
up.
it's where they've made they're hiding away there, but they've been disturbed.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't know that. What does closen? Closen rove. What is that? Haw round fields and closen rove.
That's an interesting one, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Because the haws, that's roseberries.
No, no, I didn't. I thought
You've,
it was an action, so I don't
yeah,
actually
yeah,
know.
yeah.
So ha is
But or the
what is a
hot frost,
roseberry?
because it may be frosty. So because you get hot frost, early frost, and it's a frost on the haw, so it's an early frost.
Oh, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
I didn't
hoar
even know there
frost.
was a haw frost. I've heard of horse frost. Is
Yeah,
that the
yeah, hoar
same
frost.
thing?
Yeah,
Is it a different?
hoar frost.
Oh,
Round fields and yeah, I think have to look a bit closer to that one with clothes and rove and like bum barrels, quite bum barrels.
20 in
20
a
in a
drove.
drove. So are we talking about cows?
Sounds like it.
It does. Yeah.
So then, would the haw round fields, would that be the hay rounds, bales of hay?
Could
Or is
be.
haw?
Yeah.
Um,
Think something to think on, I think, and mull over.
yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
literally don't know. But that's the cool thing too about the poetry and reading poetry that's from such a different time is the word choice, and
I know.
and for my point, different time and different country. So the word choice, I
It's
don't
interesting and
necessarily know
it
what's
makes
being
you think
spoken
and
about.
wonder. Yeah.
Yeah,
Because it's a more rural time as
yeah,
well. It's certainly,
that's
but
true.
he puts this on this rural idyll that everything was perfect. He's clearly stating there's beauty here, but
Yeah.
guess what? It ain't perfect. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
yeah. Life's
It's
hard.
and it would have been life would have been so hard.
It, well, yeah, absolutely right. Yeah,
Everything, I mean, at that time, everything would have been, if you lived out on a farm, every single thing you did would have been about survival because
it would.
everything that you're gathering, everything that you're doing is to be gathering food and preparing for when that winter hits and you're not going to have food.
A lot of the
Or sure
farm
hunting.
labourers were laid off during the winter,
Oh, that would suck.
hence workhouses. Now, it's always instance that these people were lazy. No, they weren't lazy. The landlords didn't want, the farmers didn't want to pay them, so they laid them off.
Oh, that's cruel.
Yeah, and then they'd have them back in spring and summer, autumn, but then they were laid off. I mean, these people had families to feed,
Yeah,
so life could be, yeah, could be very harsh.
really
Yeah, because they
horrible.
often end up in the workhouse. And you think, and they, so then the stories about workhouses. But hang on, these people were virtually forced to go in them. They had no choice.
Yeah.
Instead or starve. Yeah,
Well, that's we like to we have even especially today in society, we look down upon the people who do the jobs that we don't want to do and we call
I
them
do.
lazy and we call them all sorts of things.
Yeah.
But if those quote unquote lazy people weren't out doing those things, you wouldn't have your shit.
No, our lives wouldn't be as comfortable as they are.
No, they would not. And anybody who ends up in any situation that is not ideal, something took them there. And it wasn't always bad choices or
No.
laziness or anything like that. It's usually desperation and
Yeah.
just trying to get a leg up. And it would be nice if I like that he's, expressing that because it would be nice if that was expressed more in books and poetry and shows and everything so that society's idea of what they're seeing would change because we only think what we're told. We think
We
what we're
do.
told to think.
We're
But
missing a lot of reality.
we really are. And if you
Yeah.
if you're not in that reality, if you haven't walked it or you haven't walked it in a long time, or when you did walk it, if you had negative
Yeah.
um, things happen to you, something, the view is very skewed on what the reality
Yeah.
is.
And that's where, love him or hate him, Dickens really lifts a veil on
Yeah,
life.
that's true. I
Um,
don't really care for him, but that is
no, I
true.
mean, yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah. But he does lift a veil on. Life was bloody tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, for an awful lot of people, it was extremely tough.
Yeah, and that's so you don't often and I guess that's also the difference because even today the people who get tend to get applauded for poetry, for example, is like we've talked about
Yeah,
laureates and whatnot, but there is exquisite, amazing poetry written by very downtrodden or people who've come up on the streets, people who've come up through
yeah.
really hard things. The language is different often, the expression is different, but the passion and the zest for life and the observance is all there in a glorious way. It's just not what this
Because,
person or this person might want to see or read. Um,
but they're letting you know without bemoaning their lot. Because I think that's when it gets tiresome. Because
right?
you can do that,
Mm,
and you can, yeah, you can express it, and you can enlighten people without bashing them over the head all the time.
yeah.
So
So I think it's, but I think we need to. It's nice to see that written then,
yeah,
and just to have to acknowledge
yes,
and contemplate it for a bit. And so next we have autumn.
autumn,
Autumn. We had
autumn.
summer earlier, and
We
now we
did,
have
and then we're
autumn.
autumn. The
The fifth.
thistledown's flying. Is it my read or your read?
Well, if you want to go again, you are welcome to go
No, I
again.
don't know. I can't remember if it's my read again. No, it's your read. That's right.
It
So I'll
is
finish that
sorry.
one and hang on little twigs and start again. It's your read.
Okay. Autumn. The thistledown's flying, though the winds are all still. On the green grass now lying, now mounting the hill. The spring from the fountain now boils like a pot. Through stones past the counting, it bubbles red hot. The ground, parched and cracked, is like overbaked bread. The greensward all racked is bent, dried up, and dread. The fallow fields glitter like water indeed, and gossamers twitter, flung from weed unto weed. Hilltops like hot iron glitter bright in the sun, and the rivers we're eyeing burn to gold as they run. Burning hot is the ground, liquid gold is the air. Whoever looks around sees eternity there. A man of my soul, he loves autumn.
He loves autumn. And yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Being very much a child of autumn. That is
that's
autumn
gorgeous.
personified.
Yeah, it is. It is. And he uses so many enriched words, the um, glitter and then down there the gold, liquid gold and bubbles and everything's almost like this effervescent coming to life in this rich
It is. Yeah,
magical way.
it's that strange, almost dying of the year. Yet he's given it so much vibrancy and so much life.
Yeah. Well, see, I think autumn does have so much life, even though it
It
is
does.
dying and decay. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
glorious sensory.
But often we get really great, bright, sunny days. And like he's saying there, you've got the glittering from the fields and the river. And yeah, and through stones past counting, it bubbles red hot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's and the ground parched and cracked is like overbaked bread, and it is where I
it is.
well where I live or where I did live. I mean, where I used to live in the summertime, you'd literally the ground would crack so wide you have to watch where you step because you
Yeah.
might go down up to like your thigh in a crack.
Wow.
And then it goes back, and then it'll go back together
Yeah.
as the temperatures cool
Yeah.
and rains come and stuff. But by the time autumn gets there, it's very much a cracked, overbaked.
Overbaked. Yeah. So I think this is more like first frost after ploughing. So the field, the furrows are, and hence you get that glittery light in first light as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I
But
like that.
yeah, it is lovely.
And what's and gossamer's Twitter flung from weed unto weed? Is that seeds or is that the gossamer parts of some of the flowers? Is that spider webs? Spiders
I
flinging
I
out
will
into
go for
life?
yeah, we'll go for spiders' webs, I think. You know, in the early morning dew, where you've got the weeds, the frost is killing them going down, and you get the dew hanging from the spiders' webs.
Yeah,
Well, that's what it
it's really
reminds me of.
pretty.
Oh, yeah,
It's really
gorgeous.
pretty, and sometimes, I mean, and like here, we have spiders that nest in the ground, and when they come up and make their webs, instead of being like in tree limbs or across stuff, their webs are going across the grass
Yeah,
and the ground, and so you can come outside on some days whenever there's frost or dew, and it really does look like you just have a carpet of diamonds sparkling just
it's
everywhere.
amazing. It is,
It's
yeah.
it's really cool.
And
Yeah.
again, it's great to see how other, yeah.
Write about it. It
Oh,
makes you pause and go, I need to get more thoughtful in my writing.
oh yeah, yeah.
That's
It,
that's what I think when I'm reading these things and the way that
it
things are
does.
described. I'm like, I need to lose my direct. I mean, I know I don't,
Yeah,
but the direct description. I mean, it's the gossamer. I mean, if that's by the gossamers, that's I like the idea of using gossamer for something that's a noun, for using gossamer as a noun.
yeah. Because it's just, yeah,
That's
it just
cool.
conjures up really amazing things.
Yeah.
And then just finishing, whoever looks round sees eternity here, there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that. But I love autumn, so it makes sense that I like it.
Right, so we move on to a poem called Badger. The badger grunting on his woodland track, with shaggy hide and sharp nose scrolled and black, roots in the bushes and the woods and makes a great high burrow in the ferns and brakes.
With nose on ground, he runs an awkward pace, and anything will beat him in the race. The shepherd's dog will run him to his den, followed and hooted by the dogs and men.
The woodman, when the hunting comes about, goes round at night to stop the foxes out, and hurrying through the bushes to the chin, breaks the old holes and tumbles headlong in.
When midnight comes, a host of dogs and men go out and track the badger to his den, and put a sack within the hole and lie, till the old grunting badger passes by.
And he comes and hears they let the strongest loose. The old fox hears the noise and drops the goose. The poacher shoots and hurries from the cry, and the old hare, half wounded, buzzes by.
They get a forked stick to bear him down, and clap the dogs and take him to the town, and bait him all the day with many dogs, and laugh and shout and fright the scampering hogs.
He runs along and bites all he meets. They shout and hollow down the noisy streets. He turns about to face the loud uproar and drives the rebels to their very door.
The frequent stone is hurled where'er they go. The badgers fight, then everyone's a foe. The dogs are clapped and urged to join the fray. The badger turns and drives them all away.
Though scarcely half as big, demure and small, he fights with dogs for bones and beats them all. The heavy mastiff, savage in the fray, lies down and licks his feet and turns away. The bulldog knows his match and waxes cold. The badger grins and never leaves his hold. He drives the crowd and follows at their heels and bites them through. The drunkard swears and reels.
The frighted women take the boys away. The blackguard laughs and hurries on the fray. He tries to reach the woods in awkward race, but sticks and cudgels quickly to stop the chase.
He turns again and drives the noisy crowd and beats the many dogs in noises loud. He drives away and beats them every one, and then they loose them all and set them on.
He falls as dead and kicked by boys and men, then starts and grins and drives the crowd again. till kicked and torn and beaten out he lies, and leaves his hold and cackles, groans, and dies.
Some keep a baited badger tame as hog, and tame him till he follows like a dog. They urge him on like dogs and show fair play. He beats and scarcely wounded goes away.
Lapped up as if asleep, he scorns to fly, and seizes any dog that ventures nigh. Clapped like a dog, he never bites the men, but worries dogs and hurries to his den.
They let him out and turn a harrow down, and there he fights the host of all the town. He licks the patting hand and tries to play, and never tries to bite or run away. And runs away from noise in hollow trees, burnt by the boys to get a swarm of bees.
That is horrible.
It's brutal truth about
Uh,
the
yeah.
way we vilify badgers here for many a time, and now they get the blame for bovine TV. Rather than poor husbandry by the farmer, the badger gets blamed for drinking at the trough, though the ground they cover is fairly small. So the likelihood of them going farm to farm passing TB is pretty damn remote, and yet we cull them because they think it's going to stop bovine TB.
But badgers are needed to keep an ecosystem healthy because they do everything with the rivers and
Yeah,
right.
that's exactly that. One of the bizarre things is foxes will often den with badgers.
Really?
Now, foxes are dogs. Dogs are not particularly clean animals. Badgers are very clean. Yet they will happily cohabit
Maybe
at the
because y'all
den.
hunt them so much that they're
Could be that.
hiding.
Yeah. So they
Y'all
both
have
hide, but they both look after each other, which I find fascinating. Yeah.
the enemy of my enemy.
Yeah. But it is a horrible, yeah. It's vicious,
Uh,
it's unpleasant.
yeah, I like that he describes that horribleness. I mean, because people often will shy away from that because they don't want to hurt
Yeah.
sensibilities or they don't want to, get something said about them or something. But he's like going, no, this is what happens, and this is how it happens,
Yeah.
and I like. I mean, it's hard to read, but I like that he does say that, and he takes it from the being hunted and stuff to where even after it's down, grown men, not just boys, grown men kick it.
Kick it,
It,
beat it.
it shows the brutality of it, and then going from that to how the some keep a baited badger tame as hog,
Yeah.
and that's equally they tame him till he follows like the dog, and it's just
Crushed. It's crushing,
it,
isn't
yeah,
it?
crushed,
Yeah.
and the rest of it, what it describes, I mean, it's just it showcases the brutality of of men
Yeah.
and humans in things like this, and I like that he showcases that and doesn't shy away from
No.
going
No, tells
basically.
you
I
easily.
mean, this is wrong. He doesn't say it's wrong, but his words alone are like, this is not kind, this is
No.
not. So I like that he does that.
It's vicious, isn't it? It's
It's
vicious.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
horrific. um and he's forcing people to look at that and acknowledge what's done,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think that's admirable, admirable, admirable. Lost my words. Sorry. And so next we have the Nightingale's Nest. Upon this green woodland ride, let's softly rove and list the nightingale. She dwells just here. Hush! Let the wood gate softly clap, for fear the noise might drive her from her home of love. For here I've heard her many a merry year, at morn, at eve, nay, all the livelong day, as though she lived on song, this very spot, just where the old man's beard all wildly trails, rude abhors o'er the road and stops the way, and where the child its bluebell flowers hath got, laughing and creeping through the mossy rails, there there have I hunted like a very boy, creeping on hands and knees through matted thorn, to find her nest and see her feed her young.
And vainly did I many hours employ, all seemed as hidden as a thought unborn. And where those crimping ferns ramp among, the hazels under boughs I've nested down, and watched her while she sung, and her renown hath made me marvel that so famed a bird should have no better dress than russet brown. Her wings would tremble in her ecstasy, and feathers stand on end as 'twere with joy, and mouth wide open to release her heart of its outsobbing songs. The happiest part of summer's fame she shared, and so to me did happy fancies sharpen her employ. But if I touched a bush or scarcely stirred, all in a moment stopped. I'd watch in vain. The timid bird had left the hazel bush, and at a distance had to sing again.
Lost in a wildness of listening leaves, rich ecstasy would pour in its luscious strain, till envy spurred the emulating thrush to start less wild and scarce inferior songs. For while all half the year care him bereaves, to damp the ardour of his speckled breast, the nightingale to summer's life belongs, and naked trees and winter's nipping wrongs are strangers to her music and her rest. Her joys are evergreen, and her world is wide. Hark, there she is as usual. Let's be hushed, for this is Blackthorn Clump, and rightly guessed. Her curious house is hidden, part aside, these hazel branches in a gentle way, and stoop right cautious neath the rustling boughs, for we will have another search today, and hunt this fern-strewn thorn clump round and round.
And where this reeded wood grass idly bows, we'll wade right through, it is a likely nook. In such like spots, and often on the ground, they'll build where rude boys never think to look. Ay, as I live, her secret nest is here, upon this whitethorn stump. I've searched about, for hours in vain. There puts the bramble by, nay trample on its branches and get near. How subtle is the bird, she startled out, and raised a plaintive note of danger high. Ere why we were past the brambles, and now near her nest, she sudden stops, as choking fear that might betray her home. So even now we leave it as we found it, safely guard, of pathless solitudes shall keep it still.
See there, she's sitting on the old oak bough, mute in her fears. Our presence doth retard her joys, and doubt turns every rapture chill. Sing on, sweet bird, may no worse hap befall thy visions, and then the fear that now deceives. We will not plunder music of its dower, nor torn this spot of happiness to thrall, for melody seems hid in every flower that blossoms near thy home. These harebells all seem bowing with the beautiful in song, and gaping cuckaroo flower with spotted leaf seems blushing at the singing it has heard. How curious is this nest! No other bird uses such loose materials or weaves its dwelling in such spots. Dead oaken leaves are placed without, and velvet moss within, and little scraps of grass, and scant and spare what scarcely seem materials, down and hair. For far from men's haunts, she's nothing seems to win.
Yet nature is a builder and contrives hopes for her children's comfort even here, where solitude's disciples spend their lives unseen, save when a wanderer passes near that loves such pleasant places deep adown. The nest is made a hermit's mossy cell, snug lie her curious eggs in number 5, of deadened green or rather olive brown, and the old prickly thorn bush guards them well. So here we leave them still unknown and to wrong, and as the woodland's legacy of song.
I really like that line, where solitude's disciples spend their lives.
Some beautiful lines, and
Oh,
it
the whole
describes
poem.
the whole poem. The Nightingale, this very brown, dun-coloured bird, with this beautiful song. Absolutely, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's.
and
I don't.
his dwelling is so transient. Is yeah,
I like. I like that the entire poem is basically saying, it's like he's come upon this nest, and if I imagine from the other poems, hunger is a thing. So coming upon, even though they'd be little
yeah,
eggs, that's still eggs. So, but he's sitting there and going, no, no, we'll leave
yeah.
him. And
We
that's
leave them
really the
alone.
whole poem. He's going, we're just going
It
to leave
is.
him. And then
That's
he's
right.
and then he's exalting the
Yeah,
bird and explaining why. This is why we leave him, almost like he's saying to the reader, if you come upon this nest, this is why you should not take the eggs. And then going through all of this.
so you see,
So
he shows the beauty of the song. Without the eggs, we don't have this
yeah.
beauteous song. So
So there's a love of nature and an
oh,
appreciation of the animal, uh,
and I
heavy
think
in his
yeah,
poetry.
but he does it from a very earthbound perspective, whereas
Yeah.
other romantics do it in
Ethereal.
a theory. Oh, but no, this is look. I live here.
Real.
It's my
Yeah.
everyday. Yeah, yeah.
It's really beautiful. It's really
So,
beautiful.
so
I think this is my favorite one we've read so far, just because it's so, I mean, it paints
he does
not
paint a
just,
beautiful picture.
it paints a beautiful picture of
Yeah.
everything about the bird, not just this is what it looks like, but and
No,
this is what it does, and this is what it sounds like, and this is why it's this. I mean, it's just,
and this
and
is
to
where
do
it
so,
hides.
yeah,
Yeah,
it he explains the life,
he does.
and then say, and they'll build where rude boys never think to look. So it's almost like he's giving a lesson to the
Yes.
rude boys, the children, and going, this is why you don't do this. This is why you don't be bad.
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Um,
getting, but
I,
yeah,
I, I
but
like
brilliant.
that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a bit. So, the next one is I Hid My Love.
Yes. So, whose turn is it? I don't remember. My turn? Your turn? I don't remember who went last. Sorry. Who
Did
went
I finish
last?
last? I think it's your. I think is this one yours?
Okay. I hid my love.
Yes. Yeah.
I hid my love when young till I couldn't bear the buzzing of a fly. I hid my love to my despite till I could not bear to look at light. I dare not gaze upon her face, but left her memory in each place. Where'er I saw a wild flower lie, I kissed and bade my love goodbye. I met her in the greenest dales where dewdrops purl and wood bluebells. The lost breeze kissed her bright blue eyes. The bee kissed and went singing by. A sunbeam found a passage there, a gold chain round her neck so fair, as secret as the wild bee's song. She lay there all the summer long. I hid my love in field and town till e'en the breeze would knock me down. The bees seemed singing ballads o'er, the flies fast turned to lions' roar, and even the silence found a tongue to haunt me all the summer long. The riddle nature could not prove, was nothing else but secret love. Well,
That's beautiful, isn't it?
it is beautiful.
It is
It is
beautiful.
beautiful.
And I think it's a beautiful, it can be seen at different levels. It can seem it's just a pure love of nature and the beauty of nature.
Is it nature? Is that what he's
Pardon?
talking about?
Yeah.
He's talking about nature in it? Because I didn't get that.
Yeah.
But no, he's talking about a person, right?
Yeah,
He's
it's a
talking
person as
about.
well. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
it's
wait a
different
minute.
levels. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So he's literally talking about somebody he's had an affair with. It sounded like through it, um, which is interesting or or bold. I would think at that time to write about maybe
Yeah. But
bold.
it's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
Hmm.
So our final poem tonight is Love Lies Beyond the Tomb. Love lives beyond the tomb, the earth which fades like June. I love the fond, the faithful and the true. Love lies in sleep. The happiness of healthy dreams, Eve's dews may weep. But love delightful seems, 'tis in the flowers, and in the even's pearly dew, on earth's green hours, and in the heaven's eternal blue. 'Tis heard in spring, when light and sunbeams warm and kind on angels' wing bring love and music to the wind. And where is voice so young, so beautiful, so sweet, as nature's choice, where spring and lovers meet? Love lies beyond the tomb, the earth, the flowers and dew. I love the fond, the faithful young and true.
This one is. He goes back and forth
He
between
does go back
really
and forth.
beautiful, happy to extremely depressive. And so
Yeah,
in the past poem where he's like, I don't want to be alive, everything sucks,
yes.
this is an ugly world, and there's no hope, hope is horrible, and this is
This is,
non-existent. And now this poem is the exact opposite
it is.
of
Yeah,
that. Yeah, which is
yeah.
really
So,
interesting.
and
uh
love lies beyond, yeah, the tomb, the earth, the flowers and dew. So love is eternal.
yeah, which is really pretty.
Yes, very, very, yeah, very pretty.
I think it would be interesting, like you spoke about, to read some to read some more of his poems
I
from
think so. Yeah,
um, different times, because he does have a lot, even though he speaks of nature and emotions and the difference between city and country life a lot. His poems all have different, the same voice but in different ways, and so he is
yes,
in today where you would say that poet's all over. He's all over the place.
yes.
He
It's
doesn't hold back, or
developing. No,
yeah, he
yeah,
doesn't box himself in, and I think
no, no, definitely not.
that's quite
No.
nice.
So that brings us to the end of this evening.
It
A
does.
brilliant one, and our reading with John Clare. Hope everyone enjoyed it because I certainly did. And it's not a poem I've read much
Me
of
too.
anyway. So
Yeah, I
you
enjoyed
definitely
it
want to do
too.
more. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I do too. And
yeah.
I always I like when we read the classics like
I
this,
think so.
because
Yeah, lovely.
it's nice to read
Yeah.
them. It's nice to read them um, in my current mind versus,
Oh,
however
yeah.
long ago.
I think
It,
so.
you see it. I see it differently, so I
I
like
think so. And
that.
there's things to revisit as well in there. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
And so thank everybody who stopped in. Tommy, thank you for
Thank you very
watching.
much.
Tommy says,
Yeah.
great show.
Been brilliant.
And
Oh. Drop back in again.
And I guess it started over because it's saying
Right.
7 seconds. So I don't know what's going on.
Brilliant. Anyway,
But
so thanks to everyone joining us here. Thank you for listening to our thoughts on John Clare and his poetry. Another poet will be revisited again, I'm sure, and to see how he's developed and how he developed into his older age.
yes, that would be really nice.
Okay.
And we're going to be back live on Mike's channel on Friday.
On Friday?
For Maps, with doing Palestine, and Hob the Poet will be joining us.
We will. Yep.
So that'll be a nice live too.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Tommy.
All right,
good to see you here.
Bye, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, bye for now.